Welcome back to the RideBoundless podcast, the podcast where we explore the intersections of motorcycles, adventures, and creativity. Today, we are thrilled to have a returning guest, Papa Juan, the former Navy helicopter pilot turned meme king. If you missed his first appearance on the show, you won't want to miss this one. We'll be asking Papa Juan 10 intriguing questions about his time in the military, his creative process, and his outlook on life. Plus, we'll be sharing 10 fun facts about military, motorcycles, and social media that you won't want to miss. As always, we're proud to have Ride Clean as the official sponsor of the RideBoundless podcast. Ride Clean is an all-in-one wash, wax, and sealer. Simply shake, spray, and wipe, and you are done. Get a mirror-like shine, made in the U.S., filled in the U.S., shipped from the U.S. Check them out at rideclean.co. Use promo code RBPodcast for 20% off plus free shipping. Papa Juan just took some bottles. He has a 3-week journey coming up, and we'll be talking about that on a live stream on Instagram, so make sure to check that out. Be sure to check out RideBoundless.net for updates, blogs, events, and more. Now, let's dive into the conversation with Mr. Papa Juan, a.k.a. Meme King. Papa Juan, how we doing, man? Thank you for coming out.
Dude, I'm so honored to be here.
Dude, it was an honor to have you last time. It's an honor to have you again. 3 hours, huh?
Yeah.
Just about?
No big deal. Little rain, little cold.
A few sprinkles.
Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Got motorcycles, we ride them.
What'd you ride today?
I got the Dyna.
Yeah. What year?
It is a 17 lowrider. Yeah, I bought it brand new right after I retired from the Navy. You know, I was like trying to figure out what the hell to do with myself, and you know, I was like, all right, I'm not flying right now. What can I do to kind of fill that void? I'm like, well, fuck, I'll go buy a Harley Davidson.
Fucking
That's the most logical thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
tell me about it. I haven't seen. I personally haven't seen that color match or that color scheme.
Yeah, no, that's a stock. Yeah, like you know, it's funny when I went down to look at the bikes. I was looking, you know, in my head, I was just going to get a black Dyna. And
nobody does that.
Right, exactly. And so I'm looking around, and there's like some reddish colors and some, you know, the black and red and a blue one. And I saw this one, and I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. And I was like, all right, yeah, I kind of like this one. So I don't know if it was like recently out of the Navy, and you know, all the helicopters are gray, the ships are gray, so I was just like attracted to this stupid gray. And after I bought it, I struggled with it for like a year or two. Like why did I get a gray bike? Like, this is stupid. And I thought about painting it, blacking it out a few times, and I'm so glad I didn't. And then I was like trying to black things out, you know, so I had a lot of things that I was put, you know, when I was changing it from stock stuff, it was kind of black. And then I was like, you know what? No, like the chrome is cool. Like, let me embrace the chrome. So that's when I started changing everything back to chrome, and I love it now. I'm not gonna mess with it.
I'm not gonna blow smoke up your ass. It is a fucking sick bike.
Yeah, it's cool.
When I worked for Harley years and years and years ago, I wasn't a fan of those mags.
Yeah.
You know, and now, like, they're so sick. They're
so
OG.
Yeah, it's kind of grown on me. Yeah, all of that stuff. And
everything about it.
Yeah, and so this last year, I rebuilt the motor. There's an SNS 110 kit in there. It's got the Woods 777 cam, some fueling parts in there. Yeah, like it just fucking rips. I love it. Yeah, it's the fun one. You know, I get on that when I want to disrespect some streets, as opposed to the back where I'm just kind of cruising.
What else? what else did you do to it? Yeah, inverted front end.
No. That's still the stock front end.
That's stock.
Yeah, that's still the stock front end. You know, the fairing, I had it paint matched.
Rotors.
Yeah, the pipe. Rotors, pipe,
lift.
Yeah, it's lifted. It's like,
what do you have it at 14?
No, a little. I'm not a super tall guy, so I think it's at like 13 and a half ish, something like that. Yeah. And so little can be on tippy toes every now and then.
Really?
Yeah. And I've got the 2-over front end, but I'm not using all 2 of that. Again, like I just can't Now that I've gotten kind of used to it, I think I could have gone a little bit higher, and but at first I was like, I'm not going to be able to reach the ground. This is crazy. Yeah. But I think I can get a little bit more out of it. But it's fun right now.
The only time that I try to explain people, because of our height, the only time that you have an issue of moving your bike around is realistically when you're just backing it up.
That's it.
And I've learned that I fucking get to my destination, put on a kickstand, jump off, and move with my hands.
Yeah.
Nice and easy, especially with the BMW, because the BMW is tall.
Yeah.
And the BMW has 3 settings. It has tall, automatic, and short.
Yeah.
I put it on short, but the amount of ride quality goes to shit.
When you're down
I'm talking about you're scraping, my foot's touching on turns.
Yeah.
The suspension hits. Like I did that for like a week, and I was like, dude, this just turned into shit.
Yeah.
Automatic's cool.
Yeah.
Tall is like retarded.
Does automatic so it'll adjust? Like when you come to a stop, it'll kind of lower.
No, automatic depending on the road and how fast and if you're taking a turn versus if you're going on a long ride. If you're on stop and go traffic.
Right.
But not necessarily automatic. Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So no, I agree 100%. It's backing up. So whenever I go somewhere and I go to park, I'm always thinking like, all right, how am I going to park this thing and how am I going to get it out of here? Because, like I've been stuck a few times in my ego. It might be a kind of a big ego at times, but I'm not too proud to ask for help to push my bike around. Like I learned that a long time ago. I'm not gonna sit here and struggle and slip and drop the bike and be even more embarrassed. Like, hey bro, can you help me out? I'll ask a total stranger to like, dude, I'm stuck. Can you give me a push? So, and they laugh. And
I got to tell you this because this just happened this weekend. You've been to Cold Spring, Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay. So I ride up there.
I almost got stuck there. Yeah.
So I went up there and I took a group of like 7 of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that post. That looked rad.
Yeah, thanks, man. But when I pulled in, it was extra packed and I just rode up the hill. And when I got to the top, there was a car and it was just covered in bikers. And I'm on the BMW.
Yeah.
So I get to the top and I'm like, oh, let's just fucking leave it here. Oh, shit. But I'm on the far left. So when I put the kickstand down, it's going to tip over.
Yeah.
So then all these bikers like, hey, that's a pretty bad parking space. I'm like, it's all good, bro.
Right.
So then I first thing I did was drop the suspension. I was like,
right. Nobody will notice.
I got some control here, right? Fucking get off it. And then I put on the kickstand and I started kind of like weaving it.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, little by little, I didn't even plan it. But little by little, I'm like, oh shit, I completely did a 180.
On the kickstand?
On the kickstand. Left it on gear. And they're like, pretty good, dude. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the fuck. I did not plan that.
Yeah,
but,
it just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
But lowering the suspension was a big one.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I learned, I had to learn because I've always had Harleys.
Yeah.
Harleys, you put the kickstand down. Once it lays over, it stays.
Yeah.
Every other bike doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like I one time put my BMW on the downhill. I was so used to leave it on neutral that it almost fell and I had to catch it.
Really?
And I was like, oh, this doesn't do that.
Scary,
So, whatever. So the point is, when you're in those situations, leave it in gear.
Yeah.
And if you can drop your suspension, drop your fucking suspension.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no, I definitely love this bike. There's been a few times where I thought about getting rid of it or, I'm like, there's no way. I'll never get rid of that bike.
Cool.
It doesn't take up all that much room in the garage. So
it's
good. It's out there. It's filthy now. If only I knew somebody that had something to clean it with.
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. Ride Clean. This episode is brought to you by Ride Clean.
Yes,
Check them out at rideclean.co.
That's right.
I'll definitely set you up.
Yeah.
I was telling you outside, my bike that I had that I regret getting rid of was my FXTXT 2003 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, gunmetal blue.
Okay.
Fuck, man. And same thing. I didn't like the blue. I didn't like the chrome. Right. And I started blacking out certain things, but like, dude, that bike was fucking sick. Yeah. The story on that was, it's a good story. The story on that was my firstborn, he just turned 14.
Okay.
My firstborn was about to be born.
Yeah.
He was going to be born
like standard. Here we go.
a week and a half in, right?
Yeah.
And I had a Road Glide. But I had a Road Glide. This is 2009, so before Road Glides were really cool.
Yeah.
Like the tall windshield and all that. Yeah. So Clockworks used to go to the dealership where I was at, and they're like, hey, we want to do a new shield. So they did this new shield, and it was like looking good.
Yeah.
Kevin James, Kings of Queens.
Yeah.
He comes in. I don't know. I've said this story a million times. I don't know if you've heard it, but he comes into the dealer and he says, he's all, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a film or something in Boston, but I want to ride out there because it's like in 2-3 months, and I'm going to have my RV and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm taking a Dyna Fat Bob, I believe.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dean and I are like, why would you do that, bro? You need something like
this.
A bagger like this, you know? And he's like, well, what's that? And oh, that's my Road Glide. He goes, I'll take this. We're like, no way, dude. That's not for sale. My son's going to be born next week. If I don't have a bike before this, it's going to cause issues.
Yeah.
He's like, but I really like this. And tough luck. Anyways, long story short, 3 hours later, I was in it probably 17 and change. 17, yeah, whatever. It doesn't, I might even cut this out because I'm trying to get him on. He's like, hey, dude, I want this bike.
Yeah. Everything has a price.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I can't sell it.
Yeah.
I walk away. My buddy Dean Del Rey, he comes up to me like 10 minutes later. He goes, he'll cut you a check for $30,000.
Sold.
Like, here you go.
Here you go. Here's the keys.
Sold. And then I was like, score, right? And then Dean calls me up again. You know, we used to work together, and he goes, dude, the guys from Glendale just sold an FXDXT to this fancy attorney.
Okay.
The guy just spent like $10,000 on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he's just selling it for change. It's just sat there for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Or a few years, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it only had like 5,000 miles.
Right.
Thing, performance machine, 16-inch floating rotors, super trap pipe, the Corbin gunfighter seat.
Yeah.
All right, fuck it. I pick it up for 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get that bike. And then this was before you had all these companies offering customizations. There wasn't many. So I literally took the risers from the night train.
Uh-huh.
You know, they were like 11-inch. Like, you couldn't find risers. So I took them off this bike.
Crazy. It's like risers are everywhere now, and you couldn't find risers. Yeah,
dude, there was a time where it was like a handful. Like, there wasn't even there was a company called Custom Chrome because nobody was making chrome parts.
Yeah.
Okay. There was just a handful of companies. Now it's like everybody's machining and making everything.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but it was more expensive, and then you didn't know about the quality.
Right.
You know, like I was riding with an old buddy of mine, Mike Beach, and when we went out, he's an actor, and he hasn't ridden in a while. He's got 7 kids.
Yeah.
And when we rode, like last year, he's like, look at all these
bikes.
Look at these customizations.
Right? It's kind of insane.
Anyways, I miss the fucking bike is my point.
Yeah.
Divorce is a bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Before I get into the questions that I was going to ask you here, what is your favorite bike that you've owned?
It's probably this one. Like, it's, this was the one that really got me going again and reinvigorated my passion for riding. I don't remember if I mentioned this the last time we talked, but I kind of grew up on the back of my mom's bike. So my mom rode, and she had like a Honda CB 550 or something like that, with some Samsonite bags on it. Super dope.
That's so sick, man. I love
and we
stories.
used to ride. My stepdad rode. The family had a club at the time, and so
an
I'm
MC
in
club or a discoteca club?
Yeah, no, an MC, and so we used to just ride all the time, and I was always on the back of her bike, and I was little, so I mean, my best memories as a kid were those, and so I go through the Navy, I'm in the military forever, and it just in the military is such a pain in the ass to have a motorcycle. Like, they just make it next to impossible. They make it miserable. And so I was busy deploying all the time, so I didn't really have the desire. But as soon as I retired, I'm like, all right, it's time. It's time to get back on this thing. And that's when I got, and so it just kind of reinvigorated everything. So yeah, that's the one, and it's not going anywhere.
Is it true that for the Marines, they highly encourage them not to get motorcycles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, things are discouraged. Yeah. I mean, you have to go
But
through.
I heard for the Marines, it was you're not even allowed to, because there was more Marines killing themselves on motorcycle accidents than in war.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the young Marine kids. The standard thing is for them to go out and get a crazy sport bike and go rip down the 5,
a million miles an hour
and kill themselves. Yeah. That's pretty common. I mean, the military in general, they discourage it. They make it very difficult, to get on base riding it. You've got to wear all kinds of extra stuff, and but guys are still doing it. It just wasn't my thing at the time. But yeah, it's not. And I was an officer. I had all kinds of junior enlisted kids that worked for me, and yeah, I was the same thing. I'd get the pressure from up high, like all these kids riding the bikes, and so I'd shit rolled downhill, and I was like, dude, why are you riding that thing all the time? Like, so it's we called it intrusive leadership. Like, you got to be way in deep in people's lives, and that was an easy one. Like kid, you don't have any business riding that bike. It was definitely frowned upon.
You made it to an officer?
Yeah.
You made it to an officer, but you did it the traditional way. You didn't do any ROTC or JROTCs or
no. I was
university or anything.
I was enlisted for a little bit, finishing up college, and then as soon as the program that I went through was pretty unique. I don't think it exists anymore. They called it back then. What did they call it? The baccalaureate degree completion program. So when I got accepted to that and I signed a contract, the contract already said that I had a guaranteed slot in flight school so long as I made it through officer candidate school and so long as I passed all the medical stuff to go. So I had
all
to
other
go.
Requirements.
Yeah. And so, before I even showed up for officer candidate school, they flew us out to Pensacola to go through NAMI, Naval Aviation Medical Institute or something like that. And they put you through just like, they're poking you all over the place, testing everything that they can find. Cause there's more people that want to do it than they need. So they're always just looking for an excuse to get rid of you. So I knew going in once I passed. Yeah. And I knew going into that, once I got past that, past the medical portion, I'm like, well, there's no, I'll pass everything else. I'm not worried about that. So then, I signed that contract and knew before I even really started everything that I had a guaranteed slot in flight school, which isn't normal for the ROTC kids, the Naval Academy kids. They've got to get all the way through all that. And then, in the last year of school, then they get to try to select what they want. And, you could from day one, like, all right, all I want to do is be a pilot. And then like, we don't need that many. So you're going to go drive a ship instead.
Yeah.
And you don't have any choice. Like, you got to do it. And
that's it.
Yeah. No, I could not imagine. Like, there's no way, the standard answer going through all the interviews, to get accepted in this program was, what's your main goal? I just want to be a naval officer, sir. Like, I just want to serve, and everybody knows, like, bullshit, I want to be a pilot, or I want to, whatever it is you really want to do, that's what you're, but the standard answer is, I want to be a naval officer.
Is it true? I've heard the statement that if you want to be a pilot, you have a better chance of being a pilot in the Navy than in any other force, including the Air Force. Because a lot of people from the Air Force tend to get different degrees and go to NASA.
I don't know. I mean, the selection rates are pretty low all the way across the board. So I mean, I know lots and lots of people that tried and didn't get to do it.
But would you say, let me rephrase the question, would you say you have a better chance in the Air Force to fly something versus in the Navy?
Yeah, I mean, because the Air Force is pretty much all, a lot of flying. I mean, I think the Army, you don't even have to you don't have to have a college degree in the Army. You can go in as a warrant officer and fly there, and so there's a lot more of them there. But I don't know that for sure. I mean, the Army guys that I know are pretty dumb. So,
yeah,
Army
guys are dumb.
So
I don't know.
So yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I know that it was, I know lots of guys that didn't make it through medical. A lot of guys that didn't make, every step of the way. You would just see people like.
Yeah,
getting kicked out,
diverting or getting kicked out,
and like,
or they hit their 4 years and get the fuck out.
Yeah, so So yeah, no, there was nothing easy about it. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying there was.
Yeah.
Let's come up. We were talking about ChatGPT, and I was
Yeah.
telling you how fucking impressive this
Dude.
artificial intelligence is.
Yeah.
From what I showed you, what'd you think of that?
Dude, I am just blown away. Like it's kind of scary. It's kind of creepy. Yeah. I mean,
what I showed you is nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Like what people are using this for is insane.
Yeah.
There's another AI where you can write a script with this one, and the other AI will talk it.
Yeah.
You choose the voice and the personality and the face.
Dude.
I created a presentation for a client, presenting a technology that they were offering, and they're like, we don't want, no brands or no names, whatever. Anyways, long story short, I put a model, a script, a face, along with the video they sent me, and the model's like describing, but that's nobody.
Right.
And I was thinking, holy shit, man, this would have taken a casting call.
Right.
4 or 5 people reading it. Maybe
Writers.
I still wouldn't have find writers for the script, the introduction voiceover.
Yeah.
It
was like 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
On this website. That's insane.
That's insane. So right now we put 10 questions I can ask Papa Juan, the meme king and former Navy helicopter pilot, for the RideBoundless podcast. Yeah. So question number 1, what inspired you to become a Navy helicopter pilot, and how did you get started in that field?
Yeah, it's funny. So I get this question all the time, like, okay, did you always want to be a helicopter pilot? And so I knew when I was pretty young that I wanted to be a pilot. Top Gun was out. I freely admit this all the time. It was Top Gun, early 80s. That's what inspired me. So there was no other option. I wasn't going to go in the Air Force. I wasn't, Iron Eagle, whatever, that movie was okay, but it was no Top Gun.
Iron One.
Exactly. Air Force, whatever. So I knew that was, like I caught that bug, and there was no going back. I started flying when I was 15, down in San Diego. I soloed. At the time, you had to be 15 and a half to solo, and I think I soloed shortly after 15 and a half, right around 16 or so. So I was flying down there a bunch, and I just knew, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I took a few detours. I think we talked about it on the last show. I was a stockbroker for a few years in San Francisco, and then kind of came back and remembered how much I loved to fly, and that's really what I wanted to do. But you say going in, what inspired you to be a helicopter pilot? Nobody becomes a Navy pilot to be a helicopter pilot. If anybody's telling you that, they're full of shit. Like, we all go in and we want to fly jets. That's what we want to do. And then, some of us, we're just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Yeah. And we're too stubborn to quit, and we're smart enough to make it through. And they're like, all right, well, here's your consolation prize. You get your wings, but you got to go fly this thing. And it turned out awesome. I think my personality, certainly, the helicopter flying was the best fit. Like I have lots of friends that are jet pilots and stuff, and their personalities, and a lot of times it's like, dude, I don't like you right now.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you're on the aircraft carrier for months.
What was it?
It's just, people will chuckle when I say, their egos are too big, and, they'll be like, well, your ego's, but like, you have no idea how big these egos can get. Yeah. It's just, it's over the top, and the intensity level, and, the seriousness of it. I mean, it's all very serious, but us helicopter guys, we're able to kind of know when to turn it on, know when to turn it off. And, so it's in all of my experience, there were a handful of the jet guys that could do that, turn it on, turn it off, be kind of normal. But I think for the most part, just a little too intense for me.
Yeah.
So
did you ever get a chance to fly it once?
No, never been in a jet. So yeah. And my brain works really well at about 120 miles an hour. It's, riding a motorcycle around that same, and helicopter flying it, so it works out well. Like I can anything above that, I probably start getting lost.
I'll tell you this, man. I fucking love helicopters.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've said it so many times. I love helicopters.
Yeah.
I'll drive and I hear a helicopter. I'm like, fuck, man,
Yeah.
like, that's a cool fucking helicopter. I don't even care if it's a small one. I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
I love helicopters.
Yeah. So funny story about that. So I started flying again back in September, October. I was sitting around and was like, I would joke around. People would ask me like, okay, why are you riding so much? It's like, well, I'm just trying to fill a void from the flying. I think I miss the flying. And then it occurred to me last fall, I'm like, well, why are you trying to fill a void for something that you can still do?
Right.
And so I was like, all right, I'm going to start flying helicopters again, but helicopters are super, stupid expensive. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go rent some small planes, just get used to flying again, used to the being in the air traffic system and the radio calls and all that kind of stuff. And I started flying. I'm like, man, this is rad. Like, I forgot how much I love to fly fixed wing planes. Like, this is super cool. And so I flew, 20, 30 hours in small planes. And then I was finally able to get on the schedule for the helicopter. There's a helicopter school there in San Diego as well. There's only one, so not a whole lot of, it took a little while before they'd say, okay, we've got time for you to go in there. And so I go, and it's, like this little rinky Robinson R22 thing. Like, literally, you can move it with one hand, like on the ground.
Yeah,
you put it on the wheel, it's got some wheels that you put on the skids, and you just push down on the back of it, and you can just move the thing. I mean, it's tiny. It's a joke. Yeah. And
two-seater?
Yeah. Tiny two-seater, so like
tight.
Yeah. And, I'm not a big guy, and it's still kind of snug in there. And so I'm, I go flying around the first day, like, okay, this is rad. Like, yeah, I missed this. It was fun hovering around, doing some auto rotations, spinning circles around the ground and stuff. And I was like, all right, this is cool. And then came back a day or two later, did it again. And then the third day I'm in there, and I remember I'm sitting, like, we'd flown around a little bit, done some of the hover stuff, and it took me maybe 15 minutes to get back to like holding normal hover and being able to do everything. 15 minutes into the very first flight, so like it is like riding a bike. Like, it came back very quickly. And so after that third flight, or I'm sitting there in the middle of that third flight, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking boring. I was bored.
Really?
No kidding, I was bored. And so, like, we were supposed to be flying around for like an hour and a half that day, and about 45 minutes into it, I'm like, all right, man, I'm good. Like, we can go back. That's, I'm good for today. And I remember, I got out of there, and I was sitting in my car, and it was bugging me. Like, why were you bored? Like, it was really bothering me. Like, and so I sat there for a little while, and I just realized it. I came to the realization that there is nothing that I can do in a civilian helicopter stateside that would come anywhere near what I did, in combat in a Black Hawk, loaded up with 12 Green Berets in the back, or SEALs, just doing all the real stuff. And I'm like, there's...
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to fly, be a medical transport? I'm like, no, like, that's, no. I was bored, and I was like, you know what, that's it. So
yeah, you went from like being the law, no regulations.
Yeah.
I guess a helicopter cop, but even that, what, just spotlight?
Not even that. Like, it's, the excitement of everything we did, in those combat situations. Like, there's no way. And in the back of my mind, and I know my personality, I know that over time I would start pushing the limits, and probably just get myself in trouble again. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to stick to the fixed wing flying. And I was doing that a bunch more, and seriously contemplated going to the airlines. And, I actually, started going through the process with an airline, and had an interview set up, and I went to a convention, an airline convention out in Palm Springs, and I'm just walking around and talking to people, and I'm like, same thing, like man, I don't really like most of these people. Like, what am I doing? This is not for me. And so, and again, I struggled with that for a little bit. Like, so what are you going to do? So I just put it on hold a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like, I have some ideas of what I want to do. I will probably, after the summer riding season and stuff, I might just go back and be a flight instructor, a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. It's just really hard to, knowing everything that in the military you get to do in these aircraft, then to come back into the civilian world, it's different. And
no, I could imagine.
So,
like for me, I see a helicopter. I'm like, oh my God, I want that. It's so much freedom because I've been in a helicopter twice.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, one time was really fun. Like the guy was so fucking, he's like, dude, you want a wild ride? I was like, fuck
yeah, let's go.
He got fired 2 years later.
Yeah, right, exactly. See, that would be me.
We flew over the mountains.
Right, that would be me.
Almost touching the water.
Yeah, I would get an FAA flight violation. That's what would end up happening to me. So
and that's what happened to this guy. But like, and I also have to admit, most of the times that I really like, I'm looking at a fucking helicopter like, oh, I am sitting in traffic. Too.
Right, exactly.
I'm fucking like, this traffic. So, oh my God, bro, take me, so it looks like that.
Yeah.
What was the most memorable experience serving in the Navy, both in terms of positive and negative moments?
So I've told this, so positive, it's probably the same time frame is the most positive and negative. So I've mentioned many times, I've done a few combat tours in Iraq, seen some really nasty shit there. It was the highlight, the pinnacle of anything you can do in a military helicopter. Like that's what we trained to do. Got to go do it. It was great, and but the time frame that sticks in my head the most was actually after I came out of my last. We were taking the aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan from Virginia, from the East Coast, and we sailed it all the way around tip of South America, or actually through the Straits of Magellan, and then up, and it was relocated on the West Coast in San Diego. So we flew some helicopters all the way across country to get to Virginia, get on the aircraft carrier. And then, then it was just going to be kind of a pleasure cruise going, all the way through Latin America, which was, was going to be rad. But a lot of us were pretty smoked because we had done, lots of time preparing to go to Iraq the last time, and then pretty intense time in Iraq, and came back, and the turnaround time to go do this, I was home for, I don't know, a few months or something like that. And then it was, time to go. And, so we were all pretty smoked, but we're like, okay, we're going to make the best of it. This will be all right. So we're sitting, we're on the ship. It's January 10th, 2010. And I remember, some commotion around the officers' spaces, on the ship. It's, huge ship, but the officer-only kind of spaces aren't that big. And I remember just a lot of commotion. And then there's a call over the 1MC, the ship's intercom system, telling me and a couple of other people to report to this certain space. And so we go report, and, CAG, who's in charge of all of the aircraft, the air wing on board the aircraft carriers there, the captain of the ship, and all the squadron COs. And I was a department head at the time, so all the operations officers and, like all the main leadership for the ship and the air wing at the time, we're all in this space. And intel, like the main intel guy, starts talking about, all right, there's this massive earthquake in Haiti. So we are leaving, the ship is making preparations as we speak, and we're going to make best speed to get down to Haiti. and we're gonna do the relief. And so then they look over at us helicopter guys, and they're like, all right, this is a helicopter show. So, start figuring it out, basically. And so, I mean, it worked out. The timing, couldn't have been better. I still had some of my, best junior officers there with me, and the senior guys that flew in Iraq. We were all still there. So being able to go somewhere unfamiliar and set up an air system, to be able to coordinate all this kind of stuff, that's what we did before every op in Iraq. Like, this is easy.
Yeah.
So one of my...
That's what you were trained to do.
Yeah. And so one of my senior junior pilot guys with me just immediately went into action, set up this whole air system plan. And, that was before the ship even pulled anchor and got underway. But I remember, and I still don't know the exact speed of what an aircraft carrier can do. They say that they go really, really fast. And so we made it from Virginia, from Virginia down to Haiti. I want to say, in it seemed like it was a day, maybe. Like, we were fucking flying. The ship is just shaking the whole time, and we are moving. So in that time, we're making preparations with the aircraft. We're taking all the non-essential stuff, equipment and stuff out of the aircraft, so we'd have nothing but space. And so we get there, and I remember it was, sunrise came up, and we're in the bay outside of Port-au-Prince, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. So it was the CO and one of the other senior pilots, another department head in one aircraft, me and my sidekick senior lieutenant in another aircraft, and we launched, and we were the first U.S. helicopters to come across the beach in Haiti to start all of that, and that's a sight and a smell that will never leave me, because it was a massive earthquake. I'm sure their infrastructure there was terrible to begin with. So
it's fucked up because they get hurricanes and they get earthquakes. Yeah. It's like, how do you construct?
And so everything was just in complete ruins. There's fire, smoke. It was just absolute chaos. And so we go in, land at the airport there in Port-au-Prince, and go in and talk to some of the it's probably Red Cross. I don't remember exactly who it was there, but they're senior Haitian officials and all that kind of stuff to try tell them, okay, we're here, we're gonna do what we can. What do you got? What do you know? And then we just start for days, just going nonstop, just support, bringing in food and water, transporting, seriously injured people to mobile hospitals on the ground. And then the really bad, we'd take them out a couple days later. One of the hospital ships, the Mercy, shows up, so we start taking people out to the Mercy.
At any time, were you guys flying anybody into your ship? No.
Yeah, we would, because we have, hospital facilities on those ships as well.
Of course.
So we would, so we were taking, we were talking to somebody on the radio, I can't remember, and they would tell us okay, go to the Mercy, go to here, whatever, so it got pretty well coordinated. So positive, that was awesome. We were literally, saving lives and doing the most humanitarian thing that you could do. But also the most negative thing, so there are some experiences there that I still have tried to process. I'm still trying to process some of those, things that if something is going to, at this point, give me a nightmare, it's from there. And I've, witnessed people getting blown out of the sky in a helicopter in Iraq.
Like flying next to you and
Yeah. So a helicopter took. Yeah, it's a long story, but I was supposed to be leading a flight of 2 helicopters around. Something went wrong on mine, so I was delayed, and so the other helicopter took off before me.
Oh,
and got blown out of the sky.
Yeah,
it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But on this one, one thing that I will talk about that I'll never forget was, we get a call. We're already in Haiti. I think we're on the ground at Port-au-Prince there, trying to get the game plan for where we're going and what we're doing, and get a call over the radio, like, okay, we're sending in some PJs, Air Force pararescue men that are highly trained medical and an Air Force doc, and you need to go to this lat long, and you need to go ASAP. Like, all right, so the PJ gets in, and the Air Force doc gets in, who I had flown around a few times before. And so he kind of updates me like what's going on. There was some people that had been stuck out in a rural area for a few days, really, really bad condition. Okay, we gotta go. And so we take off, and it's probably about maybe a 30-minute flight north. So we're flying as fast as we can to get up there, and we land and get on the ground, and the PJ and the doc go out, and one of my crew chief goes out, and they come in, and there's this mother there just losing it, sobbing, it was just really bad. And on a stretcher, they're bringing in a kid, and I'll never forget, I look down, I'm in the right seat, and they're bringing him in on this side of the helicopter. And I remember, I'm looking down, doing some stuff, prepping to figure out the route, how we're going to get back. And then I just see out of the corner of my eye people coming in, and I look down, and this kid, and, I look at this kid, and the kid's the same age as my younger son, who was back home at the time.
Yeah.
And I'd look down, and that's all I saw was, I looked down, and it's like, okay, that's like,
that could have been my kid.
That could be my kid, same age, and
wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. And so the crew chief comes back on the intercom. He's like, hey, sir, we got to go. Like,
snap
fast.
out of it.
Like, let's go. We gotta get, as fast as you can, and we got to go. And so get up, Roger. All right, get up. And we're just flying, exceeding limits that were, for the engines to go. But, it's like, we got to go. And so we're about 20 minutes of probably a 35, 40-minute flight to get to, we were going to the hospital ship. And flying and, coordinating on the radios and all. And then the crew chief comes over the intercom and is like, hey, sir, you can slow down.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was, yeah. And so.
And obviously you don't get trained for that.
No. And so, so the kid passes in the back, and, we get, we still go to the hospital ship. There's a couple of other people came on the aircraft as well, but I'll never forget them unloading the aircraft and seeing the kid on there passed, and the kid's mom just, obviously losing it. And, so that's it's something I'll never forget. And that's,
it's always, it's always difficult. Like it's amazing how many children get mistreated or abused, and it's always the worst story, but it's children's deaths. Like,
it was. So, and then, there's another scenario a few days later up on a hilltop. So after this, there was no real law there, and gangs kind of started taking over, and so I took a large group
because the legal infrastructure is broken.
It's gone. Yeah. So I this is the one that kind of sticks. It's the worst one, so I'm not going to go to it. So we end up taking a bunch of Army Rangers up to this one area. Firefight breaks out, gets really, really, really nasty, and you're like, "Fuck, we're in Haiti. We're supposed to be saving shit." And like a all-out fucking firefight is going on, and nobody knows about it. It's just like, that shit's not on the news. So anyway, so that whole Haiti thing, that was positive and negative. It was, I'm glad I did it, but sometimes I wish I didn't.
This next question goes together with everything. How did your time in the military shape your perspective on life and the world around you?
I think my personality, even before going in the military, was a little bit different than most. I think I have a different outlook on life, priorities, things that make me happy, things that don't. And, but I think after 20 years in the military and seeing everything that I saw, I just, you realize and this is going to sound stupid. It's going to sound cliche, but you realize life is short. Like, there were many times, I was this fucking close to not being here, aircraft by me getting blown out of the sky. The older aircraft that I used to fly, notoriously unreliable aircraft, engines failed. I'm in the water, in the ocean, off the coast of Camp Pendleton, losing an engine, trying to keep everything together and get the aircraft out of the water and come back and land. Fires in the aircraft. So you gain a new perspective on life when you have literally seen your life flash before your eyes a few times, and I know lots of guys in combat that have seen way worse, so I'm not trying to say that.
But you don't have to see way worse, man.
But it's, when you come back from a flight and you're like, Jesus Christ, like that was, like we used to joke. So, you're in very intense, stressful scenarios constantly, and you start to, at least I did. I mean, some of us, we picked up like a really dark sense of humor. And so one of the jokes that we would say all the time is, we're going out on a flight, and I was saying, what's the worst that could happen? What could go wrong? And if it's really bad, it's like, well, tonight might be the night where the families win the SGLI sweepstakes. So the SGLI is the life insurance, stuff that if you eat shit, family gets paid off. And so that was our joke, was like, all right, well, tonight might be the night they win the SGLI sweepstakes, and everybody would laugh, and it's, dark, pretty sick humor.
But what the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah, but you're still going to go.
I mean, we do the sense of humor on the fucking motorcycles.
Right, all the time, same shit. So it's like, what are you going to, you're not going to go? Of course you're going to go, and you're going to go do it. And so after I retired and was done, and I'm just trying to figure things out. I'll be honest, that's been, a huge struggle for me internally, with family and friends outside of the military that don't really understand the impact that all that has. And so when I say, to people that don't know, hey, this isn't a big deal, or that, getting that massive house on the hill isn't, for me, isn't a priority,
yeah.
I'm fucking lucky to be here. I am stoked to be here, and I'm going to make the absolute best out of the time that I have left. And, if you don't like it, sorry.
I'm not here to please you.
Yeah.
Socrates, one of my favorite quotes from Socrates is, and it's been being posted a lot lately, but it's, And now I can't even word it properly, but it was something along the lines of you live 2 lives.
Yeah.
And you start living the second one when you realize you only have
I have
one.
one left. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not one left, only one.
That's
you're
it.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true. You get to an age where you're like, wait, look at all this shit. I'm so appreciative.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's with the social, with all the noise.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into the social media. With all the noise going on, it's really hard to appreciate what you have in front of you.
It is. Yeah.
You know, to look at the people next to you. And I know rich people, I know poor people, I know broke people, I know drunks, I know druggies, and it's like everybody has something, man.
Yeah.
Everybody. It's just how you deal with it.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I decided years ago, like, okay, this is, you know, I'm going to do what I think I need to do to make the best of what I have. And you know, so I just don't sit still.
Good, man.
Because you never fucking know. You never know.
Well,
you know, so
my grandfather would say the only requirement to die is to be alive.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. And you know, the example would be, how many times have you heard, not how many times, but a similar story of the Olympian woman that's never smoked in her life, has won gold medals and dies from lung cancer.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What were the chances?
Yeah.
You know, or right now we were at Cold Springs Tavern, and with all the crazy riding over there and all the crazy scenarios, you know, we're on the side of the road because it's packed, and a guy runs towards us and says, "Guys, move off the street. You know, people have died." And I'm like, "Whoa, imagine!" Like,
right.
You get fucking
right
from
after
just
all that
standing-
shit.
After all that, after
standing on the side of the road.
Did you just see what we just did? You know,
Right.
and you get fucking knocked out.
Yeah. So yeah, that yeah, it has definitely changed my outlook on life. No doubt about that.
Yeah. All right. What led you to start creating memes? And how did you become known as the Papa Juan, Papa King, all this stuff?
Yeah.
The meme king.
So it's a
And we
couple-
talked about this before.
We did, yeah.
But
yeah.
trust
so
me,
it was
these
like
episodes keep going.
a year and a half ago or something like that. It's over the holidays. I'm just sitting around. I'm like, hey, I love riding. Like, you know, I want to kind of go all in and you know, just kind of see where this goes. And I just, like, on a whim one day, so I see something, I see a picture, and it reminds me of something else, and I just kind of put it together and I post it, and, you know, it just starts kind of, you know, it's really funny. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of funny. That's fun. You know, so I make a few more, and then it just starts going crazy. And you know, so I start posting, I just start making them, and, you know, it blew me away at how much people enjoyed those. I mean, the page went insane, you know, like, yeah, I mean, the page blew up. It was crazy. And the response that I've received has been very humbling. You know, I'll go places and people are like, hey, Juan, you know, I follow you. It's great to meet you. And I mean, it's a humbling, very humbling experience to have people that will come up to you and like, hey, you know, this stuff it's hilarious. And then, you know, last year I decided, you know, I was really going through some stuff and trying to figure things out. And, you know, I just started I made a decision like, okay, I'm going to start opening up about some more personal things. Cause I remember like I touched on a few things and I got a huge response back from guys that have been in the military and kind of dealing with some PTSD stuff, and huge, you know, response back like, hey, you know, and this is going to sound ridiculous. I hate even hearing it come out of my mouth, but people have said like, you know, if somebody like you is going through that and able to do what you're doing, and, you know, like that inspires me to keep pushing, you know. And that was like, oh fuck, like that's a big deal.
Breakthrough.
Yeah. And, you know, so I kind of embraced it and went pretty deep on a few things. And yeah, I had a guy reach out to me. He'd been reaching out a few times, and you know, I could tell things were a little off, with this guy. The tone was a little off. Some of the comments would be like, I get the dark humor, I get it. But I can tell, like the guy wasn't doing well. And I remember I get a message one night, and the guy's, like, hey man, I'm not in a good place. I've got a gun. I think I'm gonna end it tonight. And so, long story short, I just stay on, talking with the guy for hours all night, and we kind of work through it, and hey, he's doing good now, So that's amazing. That kind of told me, like, okay, like, going down this sharing this personal stuff has had an impact, and if it's, I know it's had an impact on one person, so that's it. It was a very, very humbling, very pleasing experience. So, saving a person's life. Yeah. So I embrace it. It's fun. I just, I don't know.
It changes your mood too. I mean, like in a sense, you're a comic.
Yeah.
You're a meme comic, and dude, memes, reviews, and comments are fucking hilarious, man. The stuff that people create.
Yeah.
I was watching one where it was Michael Scott from The Office talking about like bros before hoes and blah, 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 blah. But it's like an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And somebody in the comment wrote, what movie is this? The comments, comments are fucking, like, people started making up movies. Like, it's called The Breakup Part 2, or like, it's your mom, bitch. Like, you know, but like, there was some, I can't remember the creative ones because they were so creative. I'm like, dude, this is
it's funny.
It's comedy.
It is. And it makes me laugh. And that's really, when I first started doing it, I'm like, look, if nobody likes these, whatever, I don't care. It's making me laugh. It's funny. It's lightening the mood. I used to say early on when this thing started to kind of take off, I'm like, look, we in this motorcycle, especially Harley community, we take ourselves way too serious. Like, dude, it's a fucking motorcycle. Like, you should go ride it if you don't want to ride it, whatever. But like, we take ourselves way too serious. So that's, being able to kind of poke fun at the lifestyle and the ridiculous level of seriousness that we as a community put on this stuff, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And it makes most people laugh too.
Absolutely. How do you come up with these memes, and what's the creative process like?
I will just be scrolling through the internet, and I'll see a picture like or a video clip or something, and it just triggers something in my head, like, that is this, like, so it's, I don't set out with a goal of like, okay, today I want to make stuff to make fun of people that don't cross state lines. It's not, that's not it. I will just be scrolling through and see something that, just makes me think of that. And it doesn't take me, it takes me like a minute to,
well, that's because you've developed the skill and the practice. Like, I'm sure I can do it right now, but it'll probably take me 10, 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, this is fucking dumb.
Right.
But by like the 100th time that I do it, it's like a minute.
Yeah. So it's, there's no, I don't know. It just, I see something like that's funny, and I just put it together and
that's so
post it. And the most random thing is there'll be a lot of the memes that really took off like crazy. When I posted them, sometimes I'm thinking in my head like, oh, this is trash, but I need to post something, so I put it out there. And some of those trash, quote unquote trash ones, are like the funniest ones, apparently the funniest ones out there. So
that's always the case.
Yeah.
That's always the case.
Yeah.
How do you balance humor and satire with respect for serious topics or current events in your memes?
I am trying to just be funny and trying to make light of topics that we take way too serious. And there were a few times early on when I was like, I don't know, this might, ruffle some feathers, probably should, and I put it out there anyway. And so I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be mean. Like it's fun. So I don't remember what the occasion was, but somebody took like a screenshot of me in some YouTube show that I was on or something, and it wasn't the most flattering screenshot, and they made kind of a meme about it, posted it, and I saw it, and at first I was pissed off. I was gonna retaliate, and just like, I could destroy this.
Wait. Oh.
You're right. Yeah.
Sorry for the delay.
And then I was like, no. So I decided, just behind the scenes, I sent the guy a DM. I'm like, look, man, look, this isn't the most flattering, and let me help you with something. Like, if you're trying to benefit off of something negative or being mean about somebody or being mean to somebody, that's not going to play. There is a section of people out there that are not fans of mine, and I'm sure would eat it up, and but it's not going to go anywhere. And the whole point of these memes is to make everybody laugh. I don't make fun of one person in general. Like, one person might inspire.
You don't target somebody.
Yeah, I don't target somebody. Somebody or something may inspire, some jokes, but I will, I'm not going to.
Yeah, but yours is more around an event will inspire a joke.
Yeah.
You're not targeting an individual and saying.
And so the guy came right back. He's like, oh, man, I never really thought of it that way.
Well, that's cool.
I'm sorry. And I'm like, dude, don't be sorry. Like, leave it up. I don't care. Just, I want you to understand, how this works and how this looks and how this plays out. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. And, so.
That's first of all, that's awesome the way you handled it.
Yeah.
That's even more awesome that he responded in that way. Because some people be like, "I don't give a fuck."
Right, exactly. And if he did that, then I would have just unleashed fucking Armageddon on him and ruined him. Because
I feel like there's more to the story. I feel like you sent them like a picture of his mom taking
Not
a
at
shower,
all.
like, "Hey, bro, just by the way,
it could,
not cool, but here, check this out."
Right? Yeah. No, I was ready. I was ready for sure.
What is next for you in your career, both in terms of, military's
military's
out,
done.
but it looks like you're going to help out and be involved with people in military. So I guess not completely.
Yeah.
And social media presence. What's the goal there?
Yeah. So I'm just kind of continuing with the meme stuff. I've kind of slowed down a little bit there for a while. I mean, I was posting, 4 or 5 a day, and I've got other things going on, personal life that are very important to me. So I'm focusing on. I'm trying to balance things a lot more. So it's still a lot of fun. I love doing it, and I'm not going to stop doing it. But I am trying to find a better balance of it. Career-wise, I was on the board for a very large charitable fund out of Rancho Santa Fe down in San Diego that had a military-specific centric portion of it. And so I was on the board of directors for this organization, and we would take in requests for funding and review all of this, and then decide where what we were going to fund. And part of this, it was a ridiculously huge fund where people would just donate money, and they could either just donating to this fund was a 501c3 thing. So they could take the tax benefit right away, or they could set it up to where, they wanted to have a say in where money was going. And so we would get a portion of the overall fund to this military specific fund. And then we would process this stuff. And for a few years, I was very active And that I realized, I know my personality. I'm not going to go stand in a soup kitchen line. That's just not.
Yeah,
it's just not my personality.
There's people that have that personality.
Yeah,
You're
and
not one of them.
I just, I have a pretty decent business background, and in finance, I've got an MBA with an emphasis in finance. So I understand money and where it can be used and how it can be used better. So I was like, hey, this just makes sense to me. And so I did that for a few years, was very active in that. And this year, I started kind of think about it a few months ago, like, have I done everything I can do for that organization? And I was like, I'll put it on the back burner. And then the process just recently started about 2 weeks ago. The season for this started up, and I just kind of looked at it and was like, you know what? I think I've let that run its course. I feel like I made a good impact there. And so I actually just resigned from there 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, so on to other things. My real estate business is still doing very well. That's honestly what funds me going and fucking off for 3 weeks, riding around the country and doing what I do, just back from 2 weeks of travel in Europe. So I've got that business set up, no pun intended, kind of on autopilot. It works really well, and it pays enough, and I work enough to be content doing it and make enough to be content, where I sit financially and work a solid 3 months out of the year and then go do what Juan wants to do.
Kick ass and eat pussy.
So it works. It works out really well. So I don't see myself changing that, the real estate stuff anytime soon. It's just too, frankly, the money's good. The schedule is 100% on me. And I don't go out of my way to find clients. They just, my phone rings, I answer it, and if it's something that I want to take on, I take it on. If I don't, then I don't, and just move on. So
that's awesome.
So I don't see that. I don't see any huge changes going with that. I mentioned a little while ago, like I was kicking around the idea of being an airline pilot, and I just realized, like, there's no way. I'm not going to be tied up somebody else making my schedule. Like, I'm too old for that. I've done too much. Like, no.
Dude, I heard the most. I was at an upscale event, like really ridiculous upscale event. Like fuck these people, right?
Yeah.
And one person's like, "Oh, my son's a pilot for blah 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 airlines," and the other one says, "Oh, he's a air taxi driver."
Right.
Like, yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because when I'm
sure I told you last time.
You did mention that, but and I may have told you the same story. But I remember, like, shortly after I got my wings and I'm flying, family members and some friends were like, like, "Oh, this is so awesome. Like, you're a naval aviator," all this stuff. And I look at them, I'm like, my family is just, a bunch of rednecks from the East County of San Diego, truck drivers, and, just, and I looked at a couple of my uncles that were making a big deal about it. And I said, "Man, I'm just a fucking truck driver in the sky.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing anything different than what you're doing day to day. It's not that big a deal." And they were like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, cool." But yeah, just taxi driver, truck driver in the sky, whatever.
This real quick, I want to hear about your trip. We'll end with your trip that you're planning.
Yeah.
But real quick, I had this write up some facts, some fun facts, and this number 2 and 3 were interesting. So number 2 is the Navy helicopter pilot program is one of the most competitive and selective in the military, with the physical and mental requirements.
Yeah.
So it's a huge deal.
It is.
It's a huge deal, because you kind of made it sound pretty. And then this fact, tell me if this is true. The Navy's MH-60S Seahawk, is that what you flew?
One of the variations that I flew.
One of the variations. Mm-hmm. Can carry up to 16 passengers and fly at speeds of 180 knots.
180, no. On a good day, downhill with a tailwind, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's typical. If it's
not with the 16 passengers,
right, yeah.
Just
so if you are completely empty, you're at sea level, it's nice and cool out. You might be able to get up to 160 or something like that. But I mean, when we were in Iraq, it's 120 degrees, and we're loaded up. Like 120 was like fucking pushing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, very, very capable, very powerful helicopters. I mean, they're the gross weight.
16 passengers?
Yeah. Well, yeah, not seats for everybody. So
right.
in that setup, so when we would go do a direct action mission in Iraq, there's no seats in the back, and so we would literally just pile in Green Berets or SEALs or whatever, and they would just kind of pile in and kind of line up, sit kind of, nut to butt in the back of the helicopter. And yeah, we would have 10 to 12 shooters in the back, and then two gunners in the back as well. So yeah, you can cram quite a few people in there.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah, but
and then again, just two more fun facts. The first motorcycle was invented in, do you know?
I have no idea.
In Germany, 1885, and it looked more like a motorized bicycle than a sleek design.
Yeah.
Fact number 5, Harley Davidson was the most iconic motorcycle brand, founded in
1903.
Which everybody knows.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't mess that up.
Yeah, imagine. Cut that out.
Right.
This was the 5th take, by the way.
Right. Got it right.
And then the rest is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's end it with your trip. You got an amazing trip coming up.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Tell me who's involved and what the trip consists of.
So we are doing a 3-week, 8,000-ish mile coast to coast trip. So some buddies. So Roji, the guy that runs or was founder of Black Flies, Jerry the Goo is going. Seth Enslow, legendary stunt bike rider and dirt bike rider, super popular, and in the 2000s, like broke one of Evel Knievel's records, just like insane. Super mellow now, by the way.
Super grounded.
Super mellow now. And then Greg Smith, amazing human being, and Matt. So there's 6 of us going. We leave a week from today from Orange County, and we are going. The original motivation to go is to get to the Poconos in Pennsylvania for the Lost Highway Rally. So Jonathan is the guy that's got that rally started. He used to be very integral in the Four Corners Rally in Durango, moved to the East Coast, and so now he's got this one going. So that was the original motivation to get out there. So of course we're not going to go all the way out to the East Coast, just there and back. We're gonna make a real trip out of it. So we are going from Orange County. We're going through New Mexico, through Texas, Oklahoma, touching like the north end of Alabama, and then into Tennessee, doing all those amazing rides, Tail of the Dragon, and I don't even know what else, all of that amazing stuff going up through the Salmon River. That's at the end. Yeah. So we end up, so we get to Poconos, I think in 3 to 4 days or something like that. We're going to hang out there for a few days. Super excited about that rally. Like Leonard Skinner and some huge, fun names.
Leonard Skinner or Leonard Skinner cover band?
Leonard Skinner. Yeah. I mean, obviously we know the last surviving member just passed this last year, but still, like, they're amazing. It's rad.
Yeah, of course. Favorite Leonard Skinner song?
I've got Simple Man.
Simple Man?
Simple Man.
I like that smell.
That's a good one.
When you're drinking whiskey, dude, that's
a good one. So from there up
New York,
through
right?
New York City, there's, I guess, a spot where you can park the bikes and get a picture with the Statue of Liberty in the background, and then continue up north to Vermont. I think Vermont is as far north as we're going, and then start coming back west through
Detroit, right?
Detroit to the Ford Museum, Milwaukee to the Harley Museum, and then into Sturgis, Deadwood, technically. There's another rally there. I forget the name of it, but there's another rally there at the time, just kind of a coincidence. So we're going to hang out there for a few days, spend some time with some friends there in that area, and then across
Deadwood 3-wheeler rally?
I don't remember the name of it off the top. It's got to be like at the end of kind of later May, and it's in Deadwood because we've got this amazing house like right there on Main Street in Deadwood that we'll be staying at. And then across, so while we're in Sturgis, Deadwood area, do all the super cool rides, go see Mount Rushmore, all the typical stuff, and it won't be nearly as crowded as, normal Sturgis time. So we'll be able to take full advantage of all of that stuff. And then across through Wyoming, Montana, across Idaho, a little bit of Oregon, down through Nevada and Northern California, and then take the coast down California and end at the Live Fast rally out there in like the Solvang area, and super excited. So 3 weeks. It's going to end. We're basically done June 4th. So we leave on May 12th, back in SoCal June 4th. My 51st birthday is June 5th.
You look great, man.
Thanks, man.
And you lost a lot of weight since last time you were
I did,
here.
yeah.
I have to say it. I said it privately, but I have to say it. You said 30 pounds?
Yeah, about 30 pounds, yeah.
Fucking insane.
Feel much better.
Exercise, food,
Nothing.
stop drinking?
Nothing. Yeah, so that was like, so I didn't drink for probably about 4 months or so. So that was kind of the kickstart, I think, that got everything
cleansed out.
Yeah, cleansed out, got the weight, going off, and then, just 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, I just go, there's no excuse not to go, eating better. I mean, I'm not
gym, working out.
Yeah. And I don't have some crazy diet. I just try to avoid things that I shouldn't eat. And if I have a craving for something, I'm going to eat it, but I'm just not going to eat a whole bunch of it. Portion control. So nothing crazy. Just
stop eating bullshit.
Yeah, just stop eating bullshit.
Stop fucking around.
Yeah, drinking beer at home and stupid shit like that. So, so I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, 8,000 miles on the road.
Dude, number one, thank you for the services you provide to this country.
Appreciate
number
it.
2, thank you for fucking making it out here.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you were posting on your social media. Another point that I want to bring out is you remind me, you did this last time, and you do it through your whole social media career or hobby. You're very personal.
Yeah.
And I make these, I think I make some kick-ass videos.
Yeah.
But they're not personalized. I'm not in them. I'm not explaining it. I'm not talking about it. You know, like everybody's making cool videos.
Right.
Like, oh, all right, cool. Oh, you made a cool video of a cup. There's a million of those.
Right.
You reminded me that it's about that personal touch.
It is, yeah.
And then my other point is I'm super excited about your trip.
Yeah.
We can follow you.
Absolutely.
What at Papa
Juan El Gallo.
Is it Papa Juan _guy? No.
Papa. I don't remember where the
you don't Instagram yourself?
I don't remember where the underscore is at. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, put it on the underscore, and I think it's so fucking ass kicking that you have
Papa _Juan _El Gallo.
Okay,
yeah, but so I'll be it'll be in this. I'll be posting nonstop through that whole trip.
The fact that you have 5 other buddies doing this trip with you, that's solid, bro.
Yeah,
that's a good life, man.
It is. It really is.
Thank you, Papa Juan.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. And then again, we'll do this We talked about
do
it.
it.
We this was kind of a better recap of knowing each other from the first one.
Absolutely.
And the third one's even going to be better, and we can jump out of category, and then we can invite more people,
I'm
whatever you
looking
want.
forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, actually, I think I'll have you on as soon as you get back.
Yeah, I dig it.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.